Here. Call this meeting to order, and we will start with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Here.
Here.
Yes.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
All right. Correspondence. We do have a letter from Joann, Sullivan, Kristy, Nedrow, and Denny, DeWitt, the co-chairs of our Wolverine Lake Community Packing Party. I see Kristy out there, so I might ask her if she has any further comment beyond the correspondence.
Yeah. Kristy Nedrow, 515 Laguna Court. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware, we did switch the date this year. It's the first Saturday in October. So please come, help out, volunteer. You guys, your family, and also the public. Please, we need help. That would be awesome. That's it.
All right. Thank you. So that's Saturday morning, October 6th, up at Shepherd of Lakes. I might as well mention while we're there that at 1 o'clock in that afternoon, over in the park by the exercise equipment on Glengarry, we're going to have a flag raising ceremony to commemorate the upcoming creation of a Veterans Memorial. So same day, in the afternoon, give folks a chance who want to attend to go to the packing party, and please do go to the packing party, pack, get that done, give folks a chance to grab a bite to eat, and then come back and we'll do our flag raising. So, all right, additions to business.
I have a question on 12G. We've got a quote for striping, and I'd like to know if it can be added, the striping at Clara Miller for the handicap spots. And, I doesn't see anything in here, but ran into an incident there at the corn roast, so I'll talk about it when it comes up, but I'd like to add that.
Okay, we'll just put that as a discussion point underneath that one. I realize before we go to additions to business, I should ask for a motion to receive and file the correspondence. Motion Nedrow, second Dumont, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, so with no additions to
Nope.
business,
Excuse me, Mr. President, I got a call on the way in, and Mr. Peters wants me to report the raw numbers of the Village Festival. Promised him I would do that.
well, let's put that down as item 12A1, sorry, item 12A2, Village Festival Report. That would be good. I think there's some interest in how that all happened. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item 12A2, Village Festival Report?
Second?
Motion Duff, second Malik. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to our first call to the public, an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items. Champagne.
Linda Champagne, 250 Oak Island. Wanted to send out a great kudos to Kelly and Phil about and the entire Parks and Recs board, their families and all the volunteers. They just really put together a stellar event. The weather even cooperated. Lucky to have it Saturday and not Sunday. It was good to see some of you council people out there. Special shout out to Ed Sinkowitz, John Scott. They stood there all day cooking hot dogs and brats and smoking faces. And they were there for many hours. Mr. Nedrow and his wife also helped out. It was great to see them. Nathan was seen strolling around, and Mr. McGee was in attendance, but he seemed to loudly put the volunteer work over to his wife while he collected them.
Believe me, you guys got the better half of the deal.
Well, I don't know, you did pretty well on those prizes, buddy. But I'm really here tonight, in addition to that, to talk about the road paving for Oak Island. Sorely needed, want to get it done so that we can start the next phase of the park project, and instead of having, we can maybe get that started in early spring if we can get that road done. So I'm all for getting that taken care of.
All right, thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Bill Berndorf, 260 Oak Island Drive. I'm here to talk about the road paving. I understand that there's possibly a delay going to take place, and the roads won't be paved on Oak Island this year. If you have an opportunity to take a ride up there and turn in front of the mailboxes toward my house, you'll see how bad that section of road is. It's very, very bad. And I know Mr. Sinkowitz here was very kind the last time we were here talking about the road. The next day, somebody came and filled up that pothole. It was the very next day. So what happens is with that turnaround, and people use the turnaround in the park, which is fine, but since that's not paved, all of the gravel just tears up that asphalt and tears up the entire road. So there's not even a spot anymore for a car to park legally on the side of the road. If they do, you can't get through, or you can't get around that car. So I'm here to ask that the village reconsider or consider the bids that they have for this year so that it can get done and completed, at the very least, that whole section in front of the mailboxes that goes down the road. It really needs to be widened. I think that the last time that was paved was when it was paved the first time. I don't think it's ever been paved since, and that was 1986, I believe, or 85 or 86. So, yeah, 85?
I think it was 85.
So that's the last time that area of the road has been paved. And I know that we're having a good year in terms of revenues coming in versus revenues going out. There's funding there for things, I believe. And I would hope that you would all take a very good look at moving that project up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you, Bill.
Seeing none, I will close the first call to the public. Brings us to approval of consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Duff. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkowitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Lamont.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Mallett.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, that does bring us down. We have no public hearings today, so it brings us down to item 12A, recommendation from Park and Rec to appoint Kendra Zunich to the Park and Rec Board with a term expiring 12/31/18. Would our Park and Rec liaison like to introduce?
Sure. Kendra was at our last Park and Rec meeting, and she moved here with her husband in February and is already on the best board we have, our Park and Rec board, assuming she makes it to the next 10 minutes. Welcome. You're involved with some volunteer work or nonprofit at least?
I manage community associations for a living, and so I run board meetings. I listen to committee meetings, so I understand the general, foundation of how things are run. Yeah, I'm a community development major, so. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
For Kendra Zunich, that's how you say your last name, right?
Zunick.
Zunick,
Yeah.
is it?
I still
I was
second.
following your lead. To be appointed to our Park and Rec Board.
All right, so motion Dumont, second Malik, to appoint Kendra Zunich to the Park and Rec Board with a term expiring on 12/31/18. That's in December, but I'm sure we will get a recommendation to reappoint at that point.
Excellent.
So further discussion? I just want to say, it sounds like a great fit for the board, so.
Great.
Thanks for applying and
I'm
welcome
excited.
aboard. Welcome aboard pending the vote.
Pending the vote.
Yeah.
Any further
Sure.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, welcome aboard.
All right. Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay.
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of this state.
and the Constitution of this state,
And that I will faithfully perform.
and that I will faithfully perform
The duties of the office of Park and Recreation Board.
the duties and the office of the Park and Recreation Board
In and for the village of Wolverine Lake.
in and for the village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland.
County of Oakland,
And state of Michigan.
and the state of Michigan,
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thanks.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
All right, brings us to item 2, Village Festival Report.
Well, I'm giving you a poundage report.
I will, Village Festival Tonnage Report.
There we go, a tonnage report. I hope I migrated it all from the napkin into a better read. Phil, first of all, wanted to also express his thanks to the board, all of those that were there, and everybody in the public that showed up. It was a great event. And there was a lot of smoke, Ed. I don't know what was going on with those brats, buddy, but it was something else.
The wind was not in our favor.
It wasn't in our favor. We'll have to figure that out next year. Phil said he estimated between 425 and 450 people. They still have tickets to count and other things to go on. He's still in that process. Last year, they ordered 300 dogs. This year, they ordered 420. And there were a few left over, but it was only minor. I think it was maybe 30, something like that. So that went real well. Those were all sold, by the way. 200 brats were ordered last year. This year, 300. And I think they had an extra 40, if I remember on the count. I don't know if you remember what that was. Maybe it was 55.
I left about 4:45, and there was still a full package of hot dogs and 2 packages of brats.
There were 2 packages of brats.
And I don't know if he sold that many.
That was left, yeah. I don't know. We'll leave it at that.
Am I correct? Is that what you saw?
Yeah. Corn. Last year there were 620. This year he ordered an extra 100 plus got an extra 100. So there was a total of 820 years. And I think we probably sold something, maybe.
Didn't need the extra 100.
We didn't need, well, they were free, so they were given. I think we sold bag-wise at, was it $3 a bag, $4 a bag?
$4 a bag.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we sold 12, probably 144. I mean,
So, yeah.
12 times 12, that's what I was jumping at. He ordered 30 pounds of coleslaw versus 15. That was a little bit more than should have been ordered, I guess. Ice cream I don't have a total on. So there's the tonnage report. We were busy in the back, flipping and turning everything.
So somewhere around 650 assorted sausages and around 650 ears of corn.
Exactly so, and again, repeating, it was a great turnout and a lot of fun. A lot of good people. The amount of prizes for raffle I just found astounding. We had a whole tent for raffle items, so it was a good 50th, I guess, officially, wasn't it? 30th. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
30th anniversary of the festival.
Yeah.
Thanks, John, and thanks also to Phil and Kelly and everybody who worked on it.
Oh, yeah. Just amazing group.
Just from my perspective, mostly as an attendee and raffle winner, that seemed to run about as well as I've ever seen a village festival run. I mean, really, everything went smoothly. It seemed everything was prepared. Everybody had a good time, so it was a really great event.
Yeah. Well, when we first got there, Phil said, geez, I hope all 18 people showed up. And I said, 18 people for what? He said, for behind to do the cooking and the prep. And I said, yeah, well, I don't know, we're going to put 18 people back
There
here,
was
buddy.
about 5 or 6.
I think there were 6 of us, so.
You know, the one thing about this festival, and it wasn't anything anybody said, but it seems like the people that have worked it know what to do. Set up the barbecue, but in there, soaked the barbecue, the briquettes, got it fired up about an hour before, and Phil was running around doing this, and it's, you know, it's just like, nobody needed to be told what to do. Just be there and do it. It was fun. Nice festival.
A savvy crew. All right, do I hear a motion to receive and file the Village Festival Report? Motion Dumont, second Duff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, recommendation from Water Management Board, fish stocking. Mr. Scott, you want to introduce this one?
Well, we had a discussion. We rolled back and forth on the board as to what should be done this year in lieu and in line with what the DNR has recommended. And I think what we basically did is made that motion and said that we give the decision to our administrator. So, not that we didn't want to do it with a direct result, but we think that would be the best thing to do. So, at your pleasure and leisure, I think we're about ready next year for one more run of walleye. I think this year we need to skip the walleye.
That was their recommendation.
We did.
We do have a recommendation from the DNR now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this came in the day after the water board meeting, so you guys were kind of flying blind there a little
We were
bit.
blind,
but-
yeah. We've been
But I
blind
appreciate the
before,
motion.
so, yeah.
I talked to Jeff at the DNR, the senior fisheries biologist, and he keeps all the records. We keep them as well, but he has all the records on the lake, and he believes that it's been 2015 since we've stocked the type of fish that he's recommending this year, which are fathead minnow and golden shiners.
Okay.
And so we'll work on the exact percentage of how much to get with Jeff, but our budget for fish stocking is $2,500. We could get a good amount with that. And if that meets with your approval, I'll submit the paperwork tomorrow to get the permit that we need to get it going.
All right, do I hear a motion?
A motion
So moved.
to- yeah.
So motion Scott, second Sinkowitz to stock $2,500 worth of fathead minnows and golden shiners as presented in the recommendation from the DNR. Further discussion?
Quick, I mentioned this to Nathan, is that if you think of, this was brought to my attention when I started this fish stocking program, I don't know, 18, 20 years ago. I saw the fish go in the water and they're like, I said, what's wrong with these fish? And he says, they've been swimming from Lake City. I said, what are you talking about? He says, they're in that tank and that truck is driving and those fish are constantly swimming because the tank is sloshing around. I said, okay. I mentioned it because I talked with him during, prior, or after John's conversation with him or whatever. And I agreed that I thought that this was a good time to put minnows in. And I said, would it be a good idea to dump them off someplace besides the axis? And he says, yeah. Because he says, when they come out, and anybody who's been there and watched them, they're lethargic. They're just sitting at the bottom trying to get acclimated to the water, the temperature, and the surroundings. And other fish can forage on them rapidly. So there was a couple places that I was going to pick out, and I wanted to get with Nathan when it comes in. And you know, I'm usually there when the fish come in. I usually take a couple, see how they're doing it, spread it around someplace where maybe there's a little bit more weed cover where the fish can get into the weeds and survive a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, especially with forage fish, which may not range as far in the lake as, you know, when we stock
Yeah.
walleye or another larger species. Eventually, they do move around the lake pretty far, but you know, minnows and fatheads, they stay
And
pretty.
he seemed to think that their breeding habits are more susceptible to a weedy area, you know, where they can
Mhm.
kind of not be disturbed. So as long as nobody has any, I don't think we need a motion, but Nathan and I will
Yeah,
get
I think
together on
that's-
this and we'll
We
do
can
it.
implement, yeah.
The western end of the lake would be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, you know that
The weeds and
Not-
everything by
not
the
your-
little island.
where I want to go is not your park, but you know that little side street that goes down where the dock used to be? You can drive right down there and drop some off there.
Plus, if you go near the little island right there off Benstein,
Yeah.
that, you know, nothing can get in and.
Yeah, I don't want to
Weeds
put
and
any, I don't
things.
want to get anything in a canal because we're going to start
No, no,
lowering.
this is-
You know, I'm
right,
just saying
right.
that, lowering the lake, and if they're in there, they might get trapped during the winter.
You have to have a pretty direct access spot for the truck,
Yep.
too.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, that
Thank
sounds
you.
great. Any further discussion of the motion? Roll call vote?
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Mallon.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Request from Oakland County Health Network to recognize September 2018 as National Recovery Month. I do want to say, we occasionally get these sorts of requests for various recognizing a month, but given the impact that, you know, drug abuse, the opioid epidemic, all of these things have had on our community and other communities. As we know, our police department has been trained and has actually saved lives from overdoses with Narcan. I thought this was a particularly important one for us to recognize and encourage people to know that there is help out there. So, probably not a lot to say beyond that, but do I hear a motion to recognize September 2018 as National Recovery Month with a resolution as presented?
Second.
So, motion Sinkowitz, second Duff, I think. Or Scott.
We'll let it lie. Sure, Duff.
Duff. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do you know they're going to have on any kind of handouts for this? I mean, for the public, or?
I know they're having an event on the 21st. It's a big event they have where they have a walk. We have not been given anything, but I'm going to submit this resolution to them, and they'll include us in the list of communities that participated, and so we might be able to get some resources from them. I'll definitely ask about it.
All right, item D, 2018-2019 Winter Maintenance Agreement. I can't believe this is already before us. It can't possibly be here yet, but between the Road Commission of Oakland County and the Village of Wolverine Lake. Nathan, you want to introduce this?
Yeah, it goes up 2%, which is the annual norm. This year it will be paid $4,708.35. This agreement hasn't changed over the years. It's the same agreement. We have until the end of November to get it to the Road Commission. Thought we'd go ahead and take care of it now. Everything looks good from our perspective on it.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the agreement? Motion Duff, second Dumont. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Duff. Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkowitz.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, brings us to request from the U.S. Census Bureau Regional Center to form a complete count committee. Ask Nathan to introduce this one too.
Yeah, I wanted to put this on for discussion. We don't have to make any decisions quite yet on this, but I had a meeting with our regional representative from the census. They are meeting with various government officials throughout the area, and there's going to be some new ways to complete the census in 2020. You're going to be able to do it online for the first time. There will also be the mail option, and they want to be really aggressive with each community trying to make sure they get a high response rate. And so they've asked us to consider putting together a complete count committee, we'll call it a CCC, and I'm a little vague on exactly what they'll do, and so I wanted to introduce it today and maybe come back with some more information. The goal is just to have a handful of people in each municipality that will help with outreach into their neighborhoods. It's not a paid position, it's a volunteer job, it's social networking, talking to neighbors, making sure that we get a good response rate. And so I'm not sure if Commerce is putting together one of these. I might be able to check with them to see if maybe we want to merge with them or do something together, but I did want to bring it forward because we had the meeting and they've made the request of us and see what the thought was of council. And like I said, I can get some more details behind it. It's not meant to be a real lengthy thing in terms of time commitment, but we also don't have a lot of info yet on it. So just want to introduce it tonight, get some initial thoughts, and then get some direction on where to go from there.
And I talked with Nathan a little bit about this. I think we do need a little bit more information before we can proceed, but getting as complete as possible a count in Wolverine Lake is really important for us because every single municipal revenue budget, grant, award, stream through the state, federal, whatever, it ends up more or less being based on how many people are in your community. So making sure that we have a complete count is very much in the village's interest, and it's in the interest of all of our residents. So this is helpful. I'm on board.
Yeah, just one more thing. I have council members receiving their packet, the numbers from the last two. Went down a little bit in 2010. In 2000, we had an 87% response rate. In 2010, it dipped down to 84. And so I think that's part of the reason why they'd like to get us up over 90, and I think that's definitely possible if we do enough education. So I thought that was interesting to see, and we'll continue to be in communication with them until 2020. So I can get some more information and report back next month if that would be the right course of action.
It's not only numbers, it's demographics too that are very important.
All sorts of
Age,
information through this. Yeah, the sheer
School
population count is
yeah,
important, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Age, we know we're in an aging community. Everything out of the census is really It's the most important information gathering tool that government at all levels have, and it's, once every 10 years. All right, I don't think we need a motion there. I think we'll get a little more information, and then we can proceed next month. Brings us to item F, discussion. Phragmites control, as you know, it's with the admin committee right now. Mr. Sinkowitz passed along this really good article from Oakland Lakefront Magazine, and in talking with our administrator, he has a pretty good update for us.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to get this right. I was just on the phone a little bit ago with some different people. I talked to Mr. Scott over at Commerce Township about what they do, and he gave me the name of a contractor that's involved with the Oakland County SISMA, Invasive Species Management Association, I believe, organization. And so I called this contractor, and he said, oh, well, we're about to do a bunch of Phragmites in Wolverine Lake. I said, you are? And he said, yeah, we're going to be treating them here before the first frost with a chemical that's going to kill about 80% of them. And then next year we'll come in and kill the remaining 20%. And so what he was explaining to me was that the Road Commission for Oakland County isn't part of this consortium. And anywhere where in the county right-of-way there's Phragmites, they're going to come in and clear it out for us, which is really great. There's no charge to us for that. So that was really good news. I think that the area that Mr. Sinkowitz has mentioned before down at the corner on Glengarry, I don't know if that's going to be covered or not.
Okay.
And so I need to get some more definition from them, because I think that's more along the Glengarry side, and they're going to go straight down South Commerce.
What about the walkway on the opposite side?
He mentioned Benstein, yeah,
So
specifically.
the other side of that walkway will get taken care of?
Yep. He mentioned Benstein, Ladd, McCoy, South Commerce, pretty much any road that the RCOC has jurisdiction over. So I need to get a little bit more information. It sounds like if we want to include our corner into it, it would be a very minimal cost. He said 16 cents per lineal foot. And he recommended to me that instead of us cutting it, we should do this, kill it, and then it doesn't come back, which is a nice thing. So I know admin the administrative committee is talking about this. By the time we have our next meeting, I'll have specific details on what, they may be doing this corner already, I'm just not positive, but I'll know for sure, and then we can maybe make a decision on the best way to move forward once we have their map and know exactly what they're looking at. But it was good news. I did not know it was happening. They apologized for not bringing us in the loop, and I said, hey, don't apologize, that's good news.
Just
Just yeah. So you'll see some real impact on Phragmites here through the fall, and that'll be a good thing, and I'll find out about the corner and see what's possible there.
Nathan, do you think you need a motion to authorize you to add areas to that? I mean, since there will be at least a minimal cost.
Yeah, it would be helpful. It
So
sounds
moved.
like it might be no more than a couple $100 literally to knock some of these areas out, and so if you feel like that's appropriate, it would be helpful for me, because they are going to start doing this pretty soon.
So I hear
Yeah, let's do it.
motion from Dumont, second
Yeah.
from Duff, to add village areas to the Phragmites control program as needed. I don't think we have a not to exceed.
Or at 16 cents a foot, whatever they're
At
willing to do.
16 cents a foot for whatever is needed.
Yeah.
I know Nathan and I talked with this, and he even brought it up to Andy. I mean, it's not really nice to see that stuff up there, and then now it's all laying down, and it's a weed. But I think that from what we heard at that meeting up north is that if you cut it, you can control it.
Yep.
So right?
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the long-term control measures for it.
Yeah.
was to
And
cut the
it-
biomass out.
And it even brings it up in here, so, if we do get it, or because it's seeds, so many thousands of seeds, that if we see it in our community, I think it should be the DPW not necessarily have to be told, if they can mow it, mow it.
Yeah.
And once you keep mowing it, keeping it down,
Pat Nagy was pretty involved in.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the water
he was.
board did it
Bunch
for
of that.
5 years,
Yeah.
or 4 years, and that's on private land, so,
Right.
that's something that needs to be considered. Our wonderful apartment building along Wolverine Drive there. I don't know what you
Well,
can do
the
there.
county's gonna do it, so we'll let them worry about dealing with it.
Well, that's not in their right of way, though. If
Yeah,
we're
they're-
gonna add additional footage, then we're gonna have to get her approval for that. Could you also ask them if there's gonna be any impact on purple loosestrife?
Sure.
We spent 6 years
I know we've
trying
got
to get
some
rid of
down
that, and I
there.
see it's coming back everywhere again.
I will ask that question.
Thanks.
If I may add, there are permitting requirements potentially from the DNR for the chemical applications too.
Yeah.
So
They,
if you do anything additional, I'm sure the road commission's got that covered.
They've got the
but-
permit, they offered to, they said what we would need to do, anything in the village, they would have their permit applied to it, because the village of Woburn Lake is one of the communities listed. So permit-wise, we should be all set.
I would assume it's gonna be there's a derivative of Roundup that they use.
He
which
had
is
a name for it, it
non-toxic.
started with a G, and I'm not even gonna try to remember, but.
Glyphosate.
Yeah, you got it. So,
Most
yeah.
trippingly off the tongue. right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and they said that will get injected in the fall, and then in February, they come back when the ground is solid and they clear it all out.
Oh.
And they said that they
So that's
expect
when they
no
cut
more
it
than
then, huh?
20% of it may grow back, and so then they may do a second application at that point, but they were confident that they would get almost all of it out
Beautiful.
through that process.
Well, I'm glad that's happening, and I brought this to our attention, that we as a village and our DPW take an active effort of controlling this stuff, and John brought up a good point about the purple leaf stripe, because it just starts taking over. Next thing you know, where did it all come from?
Not to take us too far afield, I think purple loosestrife with the beetle control has been really good down in the wetland by the boardwalk. But I was noticing
Yeah,
over
it's coming
there,
back
yeah.
last year. It's
over
also
there-
coming back in the canals a
Yeah.
little bit,
Is
not
it?
as much as I mean, it was just purple when we started that with the school system. I don't know, given their reticence to do anything like that again, we're gonna have to look, if it doesn't get controlled with some additional application, they might be able to do up against the application you're gonna do to get rid of the well, it must be a long day, you know? I do apologize.
Are you talking about the beetle?
Phragmites?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
talking about
I'm talking about the
Yeah.
Phragmites. I think we'll probably have to pay some attention to it over the next couple of years. Getting rid of one and having another one doesn't make a lot of sense, you know?
No, they tend to have slightly different areas, but
Yes.
yeah, between the two of them, you can really crowd out your whole wetland area,
Quickly.
drier and wetter with bases. Okay, well, this is, as far as I'm concerned, fabulous.
Money well
Yeah, it really is.
A very
Great.
pleasant
Thank you,
surprise. Thank you, Road Commission of Oakland County. I take back several things I've said about you over the years. I don't think there's anything more to discuss here. We do need a vote. Yep. So, roll call vote.
Joann?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Alec?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes?
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes. All right, 2018 road striping program. Let me go to Nathan, and then we wanted to have a discussion about handicap spots.
The map that you have in your folder, Andy every year goes through and looks at the areas that need to be restriped. We, over the years, have done part of the village one year and then moved on the next year. The area that he's highlighted here include crosswalks, center lines, and fog lines. And you see the places that he's recommending that we do this. In my memo to you, I'd mentioned we'd only had one contractor respond, but we did have another come in, and I passed that out tonight, but it is not really competitive in terms of pricing, and so the quote from RS Contracting is for $6,500 to do everything that you see on the map, and that's what we would like to ask your authorization for. They would be able to do this fairly soon when we get approval to do, if we get approval to do this tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve RNS as the contractor for the restriping.
Second.
Motion Duff, second Dumont. Discussion, and I think under the discussion, I might like to talk handicapped spaces in the park. So,
Well, yeah, when I arrived at the corn roast on Saturday, there's a handicap, what happened to be one, I don't know if there's more, but there's one spot, it was right near where the police vehicles were, and next to it, to the west of the spot, is the blue striped lines. Well, someone had, and they're faded really bad. Well, someone had parked across the top of those lines with about 1.5 feet of their vehicle into the handicap spot, all right? Which I happened to talk to Officer Marasco about it, and I think he was able to find the person. But it just, you could barely see it, but it was there. The handicap spot was more significant, but that spot needs to be striped out properly, so it's utilized in the correct way.
I'd like to make a motion that we find out how much the compounding costs for that type of striping project.
One other thing, thank you.
Wait, so I did hear a motion. Let me hear that as a motion to amend the initial
A
motion.
motion to amend the initial motion.
Yeah.
Motion.
That we find out how much additional striping
Yeah.
for handicap would be.
Yes.
And I have a second for that
Right.
motion to amend.
Correct. And I did have one other point. My wife and I were out somewhere and we seen a handicap spot that was very significant because the handicap parking space was there. The blue striped lines were there, and in the middle of those blue striped lines in yellow paint was no parking. Okay, which significantly stands out for those that don't understand the significance of the spot. I mean, it's a dollar here or a dollar there, but if we're gonna do something, I think we should do it the proper way.
Okay, so on the topic of the motion to amend to include handicapped, I certainly think getting a quote or whatever would be a good idea. However, I also know that we are considering repaving that entire lot fairly soon, so I wouldn't want to see us put
Well,
too much money
I'm
into
not
that.
looking for that, I'm just looking for that one significant spot.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is utilized by people that need to
I
utilize it.
think we're not talking about like,
I'm
restriping
not
the whole
looking to
lot or
do the
something.
whole-
Just making sure that the
Right.
handicap spaces are visible down there.
And I don't think that'll be a significant increase.
Right.
So I think that if it's authorized, I think we can get that done at the same time.
All right. Further discussion on the motion to amend?
Well, do we want to take and say that, like, not to exceed 2,500 in addition, it's to the administrator's discretion?
Yeah, it'll be a lot less than that, I think.
Let's put
That's a
that
lot of
there.
money.
So the motion to amend is a motion to amend and to put the final cost at the administrator's discretion.
That sounds
Yep.
good.
There you go.
All in favor of that motion to amend?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we have the full motion, which is
Full motion.
to approve the striping at $6,500 plus additional costs for handicapped parking in
Clara Miller.
Clara Miller Park at the
Discussion.
administrator's discretion.
John, I just wanted to ask Mr. Powell, seeing the difference in the cost between the two quotes, are they the same lineal square feet or lineal footage or?
It would be the
I guess.
same,
Okay, because it was,
exactly correct.
I mean, I was just wondering if it was the same quantities because.
The two top pavers here, painters here at Oakland County switch places each year. This particular year, R&S is the cheapest. and,
Good. Just want to make sure they were apples to apples.
recommend that.
It is just an additional question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
You're
you go
done.
ahead.
You're done.
You want to go ahead?
I'm done.
Okay. Is there any kind of specific kind of requirements in terms of the kind of paint they use? So each, I mean, when you look at that much of a difference, I'm wondering if you're getting cheap paint, or something. I mean, the equipment and all of the rest and the timing has something to do with it. But,
I can certainly address that. There's about 6 different kind of paints, and the cost efficiency really is more for a midline paint. And so I'm sure that those are both the same. It's just a matter of labor this time of year is just really, really high,
Sure.
as we addressed in some of the paving programs. There are much more costly paints that last longer, but really there's so much more that you only put those in certain spots.
okay.
Don't they also have, like the white lines on the side, ground glass or something in there to reflect light? It's not just white paint. I think they, if I'm correct, they use some type of product that they put in there to reflect light.
Yeah, it's a reflective phosphorescent. Right.
Phosphorescent.
I don't know if it's phosphorescent, if it's, because I've been involved in a lot of it, and I never paid any attention, I just saw them spray it.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's like a a glisten in it, to, whatever. We're
Definitely not
getting
your
it done,
average
we're
house
getting
paint
it
there.
done.
Yeah, right.
All right, further discussion about the striping. And thanks, Bob, I think that was a good suggestion.
Makes sense for those that need it.
All right, let's get a roll call vote on that.
Yes.
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 Longevity
Yes.
striping seems to be fast.
All right, brings us to item H. For some reason, I thought striping was under engineer, but it's out separately. So hold on, we'll be back to engineer. In the meantime, super drunk. So we introduced our ordinance to adopt super drunk driving penalties last month. This month we could adopt it. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion Duff, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Yes.
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 All right, motion carries. Now back to the engineer. 2018 road maintenance program, we have rebid some pieces of that.
Yes, Council. We have, at your request, we rebid the Oak Island and the pathway along Benstein Road with smaller contractors. As you recall, the larger contractors came in a fairly high price for the overall paving program, and we're going to rebid that out this fall and hopefully get a much better price for spring, early summer type paving. That being said, we sent out 3 personal invites to smaller contractors, only one of which responded properly, H.R. Sarter, who is a local paving contractor right here in Walled Lake. We also publicly advertised in the newspaper as required to make sure that we hit all the legal requirements. Oak Island Drive came in at $56,800. The Benstein Pathway came in at $26,690. I did point out in my letter that this smaller contractor did come in slightly higher than the price from Cadillac's quote, but Cadillac was unwilling to come in and do the island because it's a very labor-intensive, very slow work, and they only wanted to do it if they had the bigger project. So really, this is a very efficient price, good price. H.D. Sarter does a very good job for us. And then also, Mr. Sinkowitz suggested that I do something else, and it turned out being a very good idea. I introduced H.D. Sarter to a local earthwork contractor that does quite a bit of work around the village, a smaller contractor. And both H.D. Sarter agreed to eliminate the earthwork and the prep work for the pathway along Benstein Road to Jeff Miller, and it was able to reduce our overall cost by $4,500 on the pathway itself. There's not much earthwork being done on the island, it's more paving and taking up paving. So I was very pleased with that suggestion and pleased that they were willing to work together to reduce our costs for that pathway. So my recommendation, if council still wants to go forward with those 2 paving programs this year, that H.D. Sarter be hired at the cost that I've recommended here, and then
Let's pave Oak Island.
And Oak Island in the pathway, that is correct. And I'm suggesting that if you could, for construction purposes, just in case we run into something, remember it's a unit price contract, we're expecting to use less units than I've estimated, but in case something comes up, we don't want to have to stop construction in order to come back to council. So if you could, for construction, add 10% to that, that would be very helpful.
So I hear a motion from Mr. Dumont to
Pave Oak
proceed
Island,
with
yes.
the
I'll second that.
paving of Oak Island and the pathway at the bid price with a 10% overage. to
10%
account.
over, agreed.
Yep. So, motion Dumont, second Duff. Discussion. I did want to bring up one point around Oak Island where we could look at that map before we've talked about it. And I just want to go back and revisit it, at least briefly, before we proceed to put pavement down. we have one resident over there who's particularly unhappy about the layout. But I will say I did go and look at it, and I, to my eye anyways, it looked to me as if it may be more sensible to put some of those spots on the side of the road where people are currently parking on the gravel right now. So I just wanted to bring that topic back to council, see if we want to discuss it. My understanding is that the vast majority of residents on Oak Island and the Oak Island Association are in favor of the current plan. So just wanted to bring it back, see if anybody wants to talk Oak Island parking or visit that topic again. I am not seeing a lot of interest around this table.
Well, there was a lot of work put into the layout here.
I just wanted to make one comment, and Mr. Powell and I have spoken about this. Some of the residents have asked if we can find a different way to put the handicap spot in, and if we can find that without it changing the cost of the project. And so before they start working, I might sit down with some of the residents there and see what they have in mind. I'm not sure there's a lot of good options for it, but that wouldn't change the cost regardless. Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about the parking, as far as the plants and what we put in and stuff, a lot of that's still up in the air.
Yeah, and it realistically,
Yeah.
probably spring at this point, because the paving has to happen first, which will be sometime this fall, and then I imagine we'll have to wait till spring to start planning.
And just for anybody that is not familiar with Jeff Miller, he was a DPW employee and leader here for many years. And that whole walkway from the park down to Glengarry, he did pretty much by himself.
That is correct. The same.
Using a truck and his backhoe and
That's correct. He did the earthwork for H.D. Sarter on that pathway, and it worked very well.
All right. So it looks to me like overwhelming council consensus to proceed with parking spots, essentially as discussed, knowing that there may be some discretion in where the handicap spot is.
And these parking spots, Mike, were all laid out by your company, correct? I mean, that's what we ended up with.
That is correct. That was
Yeah.
all fit within the tree line, and it was just a matter of the configuration that Nathan and I can work on.
All right.
I'll make the motion to,
We've already got the motion.
we already have the motion.
We already got the motion.
Let's pave Oak Island. I'm with you, Bobby.
We're in discussion. Let's pave
Okay.
selected portions of Oak
Okay.
Island, not the entire island. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote?
Scott?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Demott?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Al?
Yes. All right.
I'd like to ask Mr. Paul a question. And
Sure.
I guess you help. Is there any chance it could get done this year?
The plan is to have it done in October. That is correct.
That was the whole point of rebidding it.
That's correct.
Now, are we worried more about getting the island done before we do the other part, or are we looking at both?
We're really looking at both.
Okay.
The road commission's going to have some things to say on the pathway, so that one is, the flexibility might need to be put off a little bit, but the island's definite for this year.
I'm very glad to be getting that done.
Amen.
And I only visited occasionally. All right, item 2, request to pay Wade, we did vote, yeah. Item 2, request to pay Wade Trim $850 for bridge inspection and report.
That is correct. The MDOT, a number of years ago, I think 10 years ago now, they required structural engineers be certified to inspect bridges, and that required a 3-week course up at Higgins Lake, and I only inspected your bridge every 2 years, and so since that time, we have partnered with Wade Trim and Associates, who are certified MDOT bridge inspectors. So for the last 10 years or so, every 2 years, they come out and do an inspection of the bridge. That's the piles of the bridge, all the connections, the decking, everything. And they have done that this year and put all the results on the MDOT reporting site. They have a report that has been submitted to the village as well and to MDOT. There's some maintenance that they're recommending, and DPW, that's well within their ability to do, so that should probably be scheduled in by DPW, but we're recommending for $850. They did an excellent job in bringing the report to MDOT up to date.
I make a motion that we pay Wade the $850 for the bridge inspection.
Second.
Motion Duff, second Dumont. Further discussion. In here, they recommend also having divers inspect the pilings underneath the bridge.
That will be in 2 years in the next inspection.
In the next inspection, so.
Correct, not this one.
Not now, not this winter, but in 2 years.
That's
we would
correct.
get them inspected.
Right.
Okay, good. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Second call to the public, opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding any and all village business. Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we will move on to item K, recommendations from Police Chief Ellsworth.
Start out with the computers. I'm requesting to purchase 2 desktop computers. I'm requesting to purchase 2 desktop computers for the police department at a cost of $898 for a total of $1,796. The current computers that the officers are using are over 7 years old, and our software is about shot on that, and they're very slow. This has been budgeted for and approved from the capital outlay from 2018-2019 budget year, so.
So moved.
Motion Duff, second Dumont, to replace the current Univac vacuum tube desktop computers we have with,
Not
with
quite
two new
that
Dell-
bad, but they need to be done.
With
Those two.
2 new computers. Further discussion?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
well, on the old ones, is there somewhere we donate them, or do we put them up for
No,
somebody to buy
we-
them?
because
Do
of
they
the-
give you an exchange of any kind?
Sensitivity of it.
Because of the confidential nature of a lot of the things that are on there, I think what we do is we store them until we get together enough of them to where it makes sense to recycle the hard drives. We can't let those out. They have to be controlled, so.
Okay.
But
And the reclaiming value of 7 more computers is
Have to ask.
non-existent.
we could use it for fish.
You could use it for an anchor, an anchor would be nice.
Yeah.
So GPS, I'm gonna throw them in the lake.
Right.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Request to purchase ammunition from Ultramax Ammo.
This is our yearly ammunition purchase. This will get us through our year. Sergeant Morosco does a good job of researching to find the best price of what we need. And the total for all the items are $23.90 and from budgeted funds out of the range in ammo.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion Dumont, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
McGee.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
Motion carries. Request to attend the Michigan Association Chief of Police Conference in February in exotic, warm Grand Rapids, Michigan.
This is our winter conference with the Michigan Police Chiefs, Michigan Police Chiefs Association. I do it this early because it saves us $50 early registration, and I know I end up going anyway, so we might as well get it in and save ourselves $50.
50 bucks is 50 bucks.
It is. The rates obviously have went up a little bit, but it's still not to exceed $1,200, which is the same price as last year.
All right, do we hear a motion? Motion Malik, second Duff, to send our chief to the Michigan Association Chief of Police Conference, not to exceed $1,200. Further discussion? Really, you guys need to schedule it in Jamaica or
Stay warm.
something.
Yeah.
February.
We actually have restrictions about out-of-state
I'm
travel,
sure.
so. The international one is in Orlando, however.
All right, further discussion. Roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries. All right, brings us to item L, set topics for September 26th work session. So the Veterans Committee, of which I am the council liaison and now temporary chair, has been collecting up a lot of information about Veterans Memorial, potential designs, potential things they could do. As we know, we've talked it over a couple of times before. And there's an organization called Project SNAP that they would like to have involved in the Veterans Memorial that they're proposing. Project SNAP does a few things. Their main thing is they do large murals out of smaller pieces of artwork. So they do projects where they involve local children, other people, veterans, the whole community, in putting together smaller pieces of art that then get put together into a large mural that looks very cool. But beyond that, they also provide fundraising services for projects of this nature. And as I understand it, what they would do would not just be the part of fundraising for the mural, but they would do a certain amount of the overall fundraising and organization and administration of the project. So we've got somebody from Project SNAP who can give a presentation to us, explain what they do, explain how they do it. And the committee would very much like to have the council take a look at that and make sure that we all have the same set of information, because various people have heard various things about Project SNAP, including folks on the committee. So let's make sure we all know what Project SNAP is about before we decide whether or not we want to go down the path with them. And I think it's also, beyond that, it's a good time to have another discussion about what's the memorial that we want. Because there's, kind of a larger vision that's come together. We as a council sent the committee off and said, hey, bring us back an idea for a Veterans Committee. We know that's gone through some changes and some looks. It's kind of grown from, I think we originally had in mind a Wolverine Lake Veterans Memorial. It's going to be a Lakes Area Veterans Memorial. Right now, as a prospective project, it's a good deal larger than I think most of us had in mind at the time that we talked about it. Something like a Lakes Area Veterans Memorial has a lot of administrative overhead. Figuring out exactly which communities are Lakes Area, figuring out, okay, so if it's Lakes Area veterans, who are they? How do we collect all that information for them together? Where do we put them on? There's a lot that goes into that size of a memorial. Project SNAP, I think, is the pathway that would be most likely to get us there in terms of fundraising, putting together the basics of the memorial. But I think we should also, so let's take a look at that path, and then I think also at that work session, I think we should have a discussion about, is this the direction we want to go as a community? So that's what I'd like to see out of that work session, both Project SNAP presentation and general discussion about, okay, so what's the vision here? Where are we going? So with that, do I hear a motion to make the September 26th work session a Project SNAP and Veterans Memorial review?
So moved.
Support.
Motion Scott, second Nedrow. Further discussion.
Did you say 26 or 27?
Whatever the Wednesday is.
Yeah, right.
The 26th.
Now, I will be out of town as of tomorrow for like 6 weeks, so I will not be there for that.
Likewise.
Also out of town on Wednesday. Okay, but I think we do have 5, so we would still have a quorum.
John, was there any discussion? I remember a figure of $98,000 being bandied around to do something similar to Project SNAP. Is part of their focus to raise whatever that number is? And is that number anything that was discussed in your meeting?
So there have been a number of numbers, as it were. Project SNAP at the level of initial proposed mural is about $100,000 project. The actual memorial itself, at the size and scope, sort of initially, under consideration by the Veterans Memorial Committee, a comparable price on it was around $300,000. So if we were to go down that path, that's a $400,000 memorial. Now, it's not a $400,000 out of general fund balance
Of course.
memorial, because it would need, that money would need to be raised. And people are very much on board with, hey, it's a Veterans Memorial, it's meaningful, let's get this on. One of the reasons the committee decided to move from Wolverine Lake Veterans Memorial to Lakes Area Veterans Memorial is it gives you more fundraising muscle in terms of, hey, this is a broader community we can call on. That comes with the downside potentially of now you have to build something that's larger for a much larger community than just us. So, I mean, really, my sense of it from the discussion since I've become our liaison is, and there's a mix of opinions inside the committee too, I think, in terms of how feasible that larger memorial is. And I think we need to take a really good look at, is this the path we want to go down? Because I don't want to see us, if we choose to go down that path, I want to see us be able to get there. I don't want to see us try to start to go down that path and realize it's just not something that we
Or
can
get
do.
something started on it and not be able to
There-
carry
there-
through on it.
Right.
That's a big concern of mine.
Yeah, there are, there's a whole range of things you can do for a Veterans Memorial, including things like phasing out construction in pieces, so you build basic memorial first, and then you build onto it as it grows. But I think the most important thing here is we never sat down and had a visioning session. We didn't sit down as sort of a committee with Parks and Rec and other folks and say, all right, let's all talk about the Veterans Memorial that we want. What we said is, hey, a Veterans Memorial, it's a good idea. We've got some people who are interested in doing it. We've got some folks from council who are interested in serving on it. Let's send these folks off to come back with a vision. And that committee, as we know, has kind of gone through some process in trying to get there. I think they're now a little bit better organized and in better position to be able to present things, and which is part of why we're ready to come back and say, hey, here's where Project SNAP is and what they do. But I think we do need to have a real discussion around, is this the memorial we want in our park? Is this really the direction we want to go with this?
So beyond Project SNAP, as a core piece of the conversation, we're going to expand that a little bit, I assume. The committee might tell us where that's going to fit into their overall plan. Is it going to be, it sounds like it's the centerpiece of design.
It really would be I think the major feature there. So right now they don't have, they don't have construction drawings, they don't have, concept drawings. What they've got is a couple of preliminary sort of concept ideas that have been put together by a couple folks on the committee. And, it's pretty cool looking, but it would be, sort of large wall on one side with names, large wall on the other side with mural from Project SNAP, statue in the middle, pad that it all goes on, and I think there's a lot of detail that needs to happen in terms of, okay, that's a concept, what actually is the construction that's needed to get there? What are the materials? What are the bids? How do you put all of that together? There's a lot of detail that goes into actually making that happen in a public space, and I think we need to collect up much more of that detail before we can put, hey, here's the real number of what this is going to cost. We know people have talked to us about donating certain amounts of labor and effort and goods and all sorts of things to be part of this. There's genuine enthusiasm for this. I think, we want to make sure we get to the end of this discussion with a good memorial. But I do think it's a good time to stop and have that discussion of, hey, what's the memorial that this community wants to see in that park?
Unfortunately, we had two council members on there that removed themselves from this committee. And when we started out, and Phil was involved with it too, and he removed himself from the committee, we were looking at something in the $170,000 to $200,000 range, wham bam, all done and everything. And it's doubled and maybe tripled. What I found out when we had somebody here from SNAP, and SNAP came in and gave us a little speech, is that, and I'm not being negative, but my understanding is if you put up their art project, and and there's a big dollar sign, we will help you get donations. And the other thing my concern about is Wixom has a memorial. Walled Lake, I think, has a small one. Multi-Lakes has one. How many veterans are around that people want to spend $100 on another brick to put down in our place? And I'm just, when I look, I just look in my neighborhood and I can think of 2 veterans, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, I want something, but I want something that is more of a honoring and saluting veterans than this huge show place.
Yeah, and I think part of why I want us to have this work session is to make sure that we know exactly what Project SNAP does and what they do, how they get there. But then the other thing I want us to discuss is, where do we want this to go? I am not unaware that I have about 6 more weeks left as their council liaison, and you guys will have to find a new liaison to that committee.
Well, I think it's been decided, unless I'm wrong, that the equipment gets moved and that's where it's gonna go.
Well, certainly, there's a lot I'm just saying, there's a lot to discuss, and what I really want to make sure, because this is what we need to go forward with this memorial, whether it's big memorial, big wall, big mural, involves every community in Oakland County with a lake in it, or it's something much smaller, much smaller, and whatever it is, we need to have kind of consensus on the council, consensus in the community of, this is what we want to see. And right now, we haven't gone through that consensus building process. What we did was we sent that committee out and said, hey, come back with an idea. And they've gone and they've found all sorts of good ideas. They've come back with a lot. There's a lot there. That bigger concept has a lot of appeal. It's got a lot of merit to it, but we need to build consensus around, this is what we want to see. This is what we all want to see, so that this community can be committed to making it happen. And that's what, I don't know if we can get out of the work session with everybody on board with everything, but I think I'd like us to have a good, honest discussion around what we have, what we want to see, and let's see if we can get to that consensus of, this is what this memorial should be, this is what the council is on board with. Hopefully, that'll be something that the Veterans Memorial Committee is on board with. That'll be something that the rest of the community can get on board with, but we need to have community support and community consensus to make this happen. So that's an awful lot to lay on a work session. 2 weeks from now, I'd like us to all see what Project SNAP does, get a much better, much more concrete idea of what they do, both what their mural is and what the other services that they provide, because they would potentially be the fundraising arm to make that happen if we want to make that larger vision happen. So,
At the end of the day, are they amenable to bringing either Carlisle Wortman or an engineering company or a planning company? Because I think that's really what's going to happen. It sounds like what we're going to do is discuss the pieces that they want to bring to the table, what that might look like in size and in phasing, but you still have to have somebody put this thing together.
yeah, and we had some discussions about this with the committee, and kind of at our last meeting, we went through some of the real steps that you need to do to make this happen. And one of the next things would really be to have Carlisle Wortman put some planning together, put a concept drawing together, put something that people can all say, okay, yeah, this is where it is. This is our real stake in the ground for what we want to do. And then I know we've had a few preliminary discussions with our engineer about, once we've got that and we're all on board with it, maybe turning that into something a little bit more concrete in terms of drawings and measurements and
a budget to get you some
and
idea
a
where to
budget.
go.
Yeah, because you can't do any of it.
I've been in touch with a couple sculptures and stuff like that, and most of them, you can hire people to do certain work, but on a lot of their projects, if you want that marble wall to stand there and not lean, we build the foundation and our engineers will be there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that it's anything that couldn't be done here in Michigan. I mean, you know, we've got enough projects where we've held up heavy stuff, but, you know, if you're gonna get a guarantee that it doesn't crack, chip, or peel.
You need to put it together right so that it
Yeah.
lasts. It suddenly occurs to me, it's too bad the guy who wanted to gift us the Wolverine statue never followed through. And
He vanished.
nice Wolverine might.
We melt it down and use it in the. Oh, I'm sorry. That's for
I had
you.
nothing to do with it.
Although I do notice our next item is the donation of a Buckeye statue.
Hey, John. Well, you could just take a bowling ball and paint it.
Planting of Buckeye trees. Now, how did that get on the agenda? Okay, so anyways, that's what I'd like us to do. That's the work session. So Project Snap, let's hear what they have to do, but then also let's talk about what we can do to get this, you know, get sort of unified consensus on what this thing should be.
Makes sense.
Do I hear a motion to make the work session Project Snap and discussion of Veterans Committee?
I thought we already did that.
Oh, we already did that. Oh,
Well, let's
we
do
just
it
need to vote?
again.
All in favor?
Just to be sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Good thing she was here.
Every now and then I forget to get a motion. Every now and then I
Keep us straight.
I ask for 2 motions. The wheels are falling off. The wheels are falling off. I got one more meeting to make.
Yeah, it happened to me 20 minutes ago. So.
All right. That's all we've got there. We have no pending business. And so brings us to update from Chief Ellsworth.
It's nice to be back. I was on vacation last meeting, and it was nice. Thank you very much for the signs. That's going to go well down on Benstein and on Glengarry. And I know Deputy Chief Wachowski explained that. I appreciate him stepping in for me. A couple of things real quick. Marine Patrol has been very busy this year. It appears that we're going to have an extended summer. Looks like summer's coming back for a couple more weeks. I would like to extend our patrol when the weather is appropriate for them to be out through the month of September. I had a discussion with Mr. Byrd, and I told him, I said, I don't think we're going to need a budget amendment at this particular time, because, again, we're not sure how often they're going to be out there. However, our budget also includes Memorial Weekend of next year and the month of June, so we might be running a little short towards the end. We may have to make a budget amendment, but I wanted to throw that out there. I think it's a good idea. People know that we stop patrolling after Labor Day, and sometimes it gets to be a free-for-all, and we want to make sure that stops. So on the warmer weekends and occasional evening during the week, I want to be able to have Marine Patrol put out there. I think it's a good idea, but I just wanted to kind of bounce it off you guys and to see what your thoughts were.
I think I see nodding heads of consensus.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much. The buoys will come in, I believe, October 1st. As they start lowering the lake, we pull the buoys in. It was a great time at the Corn Roast. We had a great turnout. We had quite a few officers there, too. Our bike parade did not go off as well as we thought, and nobody showed up with bikes. So, but we had a good time anyway, and we appreciate it. Other than that, thoughts and prayers to our friends in North Carolina in direct line of Hurricane Florence, especially Officer Sutsko's father, Chief A.J. Sutsko, who is the chief in Indian Beach. That's an Outer Bank island, which is right in a direct line. They are going to be experiencing 120-mile-an-hour winds and 83-foot waves with this hurricane. And they've evacuated their entire town, which is not much except the tourists. But they're hunkering down, preparing for the worst. And he's been through 6 so far, but no Category 4s. And this looks like it might be a Category 4 landfall. So, and unfortunately, once it hits land, they're saying it's going to be 2 miles an hour moving. So it's going to be a very sustained storm. So our thoughts and prayers go out to them. Other than that, that's it. It's been a fun summer. It went fast.
Too fast.
Sure did.
Very much so.
All right. Update from the treasurer.
Nothing here, Mr. President.
Update from the administrator.
I just want to echo everything that's been said about the festival and thank everybody that was involved. My oldest was at the mallet banging table with frogs flying everywhere. My daughter had a big butterfly painted on her forehead. The two young ones found the free donut table and melted down the rest of the day, but they had a great time. So it was a lot of fun, and I certainly appreciate the work everybody put in on that. Last month, council authorized a fence replacement here at Village Hall. That's going to start tomorrow. Andy and I have been in communication with all the neighbors so that we're all on the same page. This wood fence will be coming down tomorrow and Friday, and then next week the new fence will be installed. So look forward to seeing that. I think it'll be a good improvement for us. And also just want to remind everyone that we still have some Taste of the Lakes tickets available upstairs. That's coming up on September 25th. And if you buy them here, it's $5 less than buying them at the door. So we still have a couple left if anybody's looking. Thank you.
All right. Brings us to council comments. We'll start down here this month.
Okay, a couple things. I had the, not misfortune, but the fortune of seeing our code enforcement officer, Bill Bazinski, at work with a neighbor of mine, okay? He was very, very competent at questioning the person that was doing the driveway sealing. Now, the gentleman was a little out of whack because he was questioned, okay, and he did have a permit. But again, he was very professional about it, and I just think it needs to be recognized. Next thing, I will be out of town, like I said, leaving tomorrow, and I won't be back till around the 25th or 26th of October. So Nathan, if you could hold my packet, you know,
we'll do that.
I can pick it up after just to see what was on.
Yeah, we will do
But
that.
I'll be here in time to go vote and the Monday meeting after. Other than that, hope the packaging party and everything else involved while I'm away goes well.
No comment.
Monday, Park and Rec meeting right here. Kendra Zunick is going to be here, our newest board member.
Look at her. She's ready to go
I
park and
know.
rec.
Thank you, Kendra.
All right. Scott.
I'm going to pass. I think we've covered some good subjects here. So I'll turn it over.
It was a great day last Saturday at the Village Fest. And we are about 3.5 weeks away from the packing party. And we haven't received much yet collecting in our house, so hopefully, hopefully we're gonna have a rush. And usually it does come in the last week or so, but. So, tell everybody to get their stuff in earlier the better, because Kristy goes through and sorts a whole bunch of it ahead of time, and it makes it a lot easier and a lot more manageable the day of the packing party, so. And, other than that, I will not be here at the next meeting also. I'm gonna be out of town on business.
October meeting?
Yeah, so. That's two gone.
I'll be in Idaho. I don't know where you'll be.
Phoenix, sorry.
Oh, well, very close.
Sequence.
Yeah, a couple comments. I had mentioned to John about the fish structures we put in the lake, and I brought it up over there. Do you think that's something that's going to get done before the winter?
You mean in terms of the GPS?
Yeah, where they're located and
I did-
actually
Yeah,
give
I
an
sent an
inspection.
email, but I'll have to follow up
Yeah,
to Lynn's husband.
because if the water gets
Yeah.
cold. Depending on where it is, it might even be advantageous to go look at them when we lower the lake,
Mhm.
because that's another 2 feet, and you might, without boat traffic, be able to actually
See you?
look down there, but at least we'd like to know where they are and go from there.
Yep.
If they're,
I got an underwater camera that has a
Yeah, we
200-foot spool of wire, so we can.
You do?
Yes. So
But we need a GPS to give you some coordination.
give me the
And Ed has
Well, we
asked
don't
me
want
a
to go
few
around the whole
times.
lake with a flashlight. And the other thing that I brought up at that meeting is that, especially this year, I noticed there's been a depletion of the bluegill in the lake. I've talked with a lot of neighbors on the island, in Penny Lake, and other places, and some neighbors says they didn't see it. I didn't have any bluegills, and I mean, they used to come in there and just peck at you when you went in the water. So hopefully, it might just be a cycle, I don't know what.
There's some at the depot, I know that.
Yeah, they come up there. But
Voracious,
the
aren't they?
other thing is,
Yeah.
speaking for myself only, but I think there's going to be others, I will not be here at the November council meeting.
The Monday,
Monday?
November.
Monday?
Because remember, the first one
First
after
Monday.
the election is on the Monday.
After the election.
You should be okay.
Oh, so honey, that won't affect honey.
We good.
You're okay.
Oh, here I thought I had a good excuse to miss a meeting, and I got it, you guys goofed me up.
You will be here then?
Yes. I could have missed a meeting.
Can I
Legitimately.
ask a question?
Few
Sure.
bucks over happy, that's.
On the fish stocking, the boat that puts it in, the truck, excuse me, does it have a chute that it puts into the water? And
Yeah.
And the reason I
Right.
ask, you might want to contact the president of Spring Lake Heights, because we have an access that, you can back right on
to the
down.
water, yeah.
And possibly if you wanted to unload at that end, but again, you'd have to contact the president, to
Same
see.
thing over on Penny Lake end.
Yeah, Mellow and Nantucket.
Yeah, because I think we've, we were putting in walleye that were about 2 inches shy of legal
Right.
limit. That we don't worry about, but I don't know, and I'm sure Nathan will contact them. These guys are on a schedule, and they usually carry, for that amount, it'll probably be us, and then go back and get another load. So I don't know how many places we can,
Well,
take them
it's
to.
an open area. I mean, you
Yeah.
can back right through and right down to the beach, so.
I'd like
Just
to
a
get at
thought.
least 2 different places, if not 3,
Okay.
one in Penny Lake, one down there, one
Mallow.
maybe even still at the access or near the bridge or something.
Bridge.
That's it.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
that.
no, that's okay.
Fall.
Okay, so I had a couple of items. First is, I want to remind everybody that we do have a batch of ballot amendments on the ballot this year. Sample ballots will be going out fairly soon. People might start asking questions, and I think everybody should keep in mind, especially people on council, since you were involved in the process of putting together, try to explain to folks what's going on there and why we're doing it, that we're really just modernizing our charter to comply with the law as it is, and update a few things. So I think that's a question that people are going to have questions on when they look at their ballot. Nobody's going to realize it's there before, and then they're going to see like, hey, what's this big pile of 8 different amendments? So make sure that you 9.
Can I make a quick comment on
Yes.
that? Today, we put on the front page of our website a description of those amendments in normal human language, which will be helpful because the ballot language is, no offense, but the ballot language is pretty technical. And so
Human language.
Leanne and I have been working together on that for a long time, and
Even the human language is a little.
but on the front page of the website, there's a link, and it does explain as clearly as I think is possible the 9 amendments. And we'll also be putting something in the fall newsletter that will direct people there and to call us for questions. Leanne has straightened me out on what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say in terms of that action, but there is something on the website now for people to look at, and we'll be promoting that pretty heavily between now and November.
Great. Second thing I just wanted to mention is, came up in discussion today when I was talking with Nathan, in terms of future pathway projects. One thing that I thought about when it looked like we were going to do a large project with potentially leftover tailings for doing other things. But I want to mention it now so that when that large project comes along, it's not entirely lost. There's the little section of Ladd Road that comes up to the end there. Right on that road, there's really like no shoulder, it's a pretty steep ditch, it's a pretty bad place to walk. There is the dirt road called Home Row, which is that little sort of side service street that the houses are actually on. Park Row. That's there that people are on. And I mentioned it might be worth putting in at least a little sort of gravel tailings pathway from the end of Park Row up to Lakeview, where it would just be a way to get people around that one spot where there's occasionally traffic. There's no place to step out of the way. It's pretty crowded. It would be a pretty minimal project, but I think that would be a good little connector to add in there.
Well, I can appreciate that, but Does gravel make sense?
Is that village property?
I believe the extension is, I think it's village right of way in there. I think gravel actually makes sense in there because it's a dirt road. Park Road is a dirt road, so
Okay.
I don't think it needs to be paved, but I think it's just an opportunity to give people a place. It's, to be honest, the place that I walk when I go down there.
Okay, well, I'm just, the
through it,
reason
but-
I say that, if it's affiliated, is it gonna end up with somebody parking because it's now a nicer area? You know, that's the thing.
Try to find some millings.
Yeah, I just think like the next time we have a pile of millings, it would be a good project for that.
Yeah, because FYI, when they did Lake Sherwood, it just so happened that a person I know from a drilling company was doing all the drilling for them, and I got wind of it, and they took it all to multi-lakes. And every dirt and every gravel road, they put that millings, and it's like blacktop. It works out great, and if you know of anybody that's having a big project and there's gonna be millings, you know, because the less they have to travel, the happier they are.
All right.
I had a real quick question, and it started when you talked about pathways. In going through the Park and Rec's minutes, and I don't want to get this all, you know, you carry United Neighborhoods as an item. Is that not really the pathways? Isn't that how this all started under United?
That is the pathway.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, I was just,
Roger Bush.
Roger Bush, right.
Yeah, Roger Bush.
I want to see Roger Bush when I go to Denver, but I
And
was
that's-
just curious if that shouldn't be maybe integrated. I'm wondering, are you carrying it as just a separate item?
I think perhaps
That's the bridge
when
to Myers,
it comes
you know,
time
that
to
goes over
look at our
Put the
various
committee.
committees
Yeah.
in November and staff them, maybe we should have some discussion around pathway committee. We set up
Okay.
that pathway committee independently. It hasn't met in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe it belongs back under Park and Rec, maybe the issue belongs with admin, but,
Will they add any funds to our projects? Have to ask.
Motion to adjourn.
all right, anyways, that was all I had. I have a motion to adjourn from Duff, second from Sinkowitz. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.